Hello and welcome to Womb Magic. I'm here with Mandee, Elam, and I'm Heidi Summers, and we are merging our energies together to talk about the wild and free feminine within each and every one of us. Mandee, how's your morning going so far?
My morning is going lovely. I got a really nice deep sleep, which was awesome. I was telling Heidi, for our listeners, a little bit before the show, I had a pinched nerve in my upper back, and I get those sometimes. It happens. I've been through a lot, and so it got really bad, and I caved, and I was like, that's it. I'm taking some naproxen and a muscle relaxer, and am I grateful for that? So as much as I love, holistic medicine and alternatives, which are really kind of ancient, and treating things plant-based, I also honor and know that there's a time and a place for Western medicine too. And I was really grateful for relief and a good night's sleep and being able to kind of start moving. Like I couldn't even turn my head side to side for a whole day. Or up and down, and it got to one point where I was just breathing and tears were coming out because it hurt so bad. And I'm usually pretty tough, and so I took some of these muscle relaxers I had, and I was like, I am so grateful. So, yeah, good morning, and I'm feeling way better than I was in the beginning of the week, and yeah, I'm happy to be here and hold some space with you, sweet Heidi.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that too, because I think it's so important to have a balanced approach because nothing is black and white, and especially when it comes to living life by our intuition. Sometimes our intuition just tells us, this is what your body needs right now, and sometimes it is more of an integrative approach of like merging your Eastern practices, if you will, with Western medicine. And I think it's just important to always have an open mind when it comes to your health and your body and following what feels true for you, because you never know what could occur, and sometimes stuff just happens in life. And especially if you're on an intuitive path, I feel like we often try to ascribe meaning to every single thing that happens in our lives. But sometimes I feel like stuff just happens, and maybe the only lesson is that we surrender and that we soften and allow ourselves to just be wherever we're at and not judge ourselves so much for, feeling like we have to be strong or we have to muscle through or I can align my chakras out of this. And sometimes you just gotta do what your body needs so that you can find that inner peace, inner stillness to be able to go about your day and move forward. So I definitely have done that myself where I have utilized medicine, and I'm on a regimen right now of I take my vitamins and all of my healing herbs and stuff, and I also have some Western medicine things I use for asthma and fibromyalgia. So yeah, I love that sense of balance. So thank you again for sharing that. That's so awesome.
Of course. It's important. And Heidi and I were talking a little bit about before the show about, the power of our intuition and just how connected to our womb space that is. The womb space is a place to create and give birth to life. However, it's also a place that can hold a lot, and it's kind of this locked vault within our body that holds our deepest, secrets and desires and actions and all kinds of things. And a lot of times we end up storing a lot of fear and pain down there too. I was really lucky to receive the rite of the womb kind of initiation and cleansing. Comes from the 13th monarchy in Peru. But when I went to Rise Sister Rise with Rebecca Campbell, she was able to pass that on to everyone. And it's this really nice kind of chant, and you draw down a lot of energy, and then you transfer energy from whoever's giving this life force back into the womb. So when you do it, you kind of repeat the phrase that the womb is not a place to Sorry, let me start over. The womb is not a place to store fear or pain. The womb is a place to give birth and create life. I'm messing it up right now, but you get the gist. So when you go into it, you say this over and over, and you draw down the energies, and it helps to release. I did this one time at a retreat, and it was beautiful, and I think there was about 20 women there, and like 11 of them got their periods the next day because they were just simply releasing all of this fear and pain that had been stored up in their womb space energetically. And it was really beautiful. And I think that, our intuition really ties in with simply caring for ourselves and the things Heidi and I were just discussing. And sometimes you do need a little Western medicine. I tried the salt baths. I did the tiger balm. I did a lot of stretching. I was doing ice packs and heat packs, all kinds of things. And I was just having a really, really hard time. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just not judge myself? Why don't I just give, myself a little bit of opportunity to take some medicine and see what happens? And I followed my intuition on that and was greatly rewarded. Now I feel way better. I have an impromptu girls' night with one of my girlfriends across the state, and we're going to go and have a bunch of fun today. And I probably wouldn't have been feeling up for that or had the energy had I not followed my intuition and said, you know what, why don't I give some of this medicine a try and see what happens? So any of our listeners, I just encourage you to always just kind of go with your gut and don't judge it. You never know. You just never know what it could mean or what it could be protecting you from or bringing into your realm for healing or inspiration or creativity. There's just so much magic in this world. And, you can ask and learn and do as many things as you want. But when it comes down to it, our souls really lead us along the way. And our intuition is a big part of being able to follow those soul strings.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. It's so much that feeling of exhale, just self-care and honoring your body, honoring your spirit, your mind, your whole being. So I just love that so much. In alignment with self-care and intuition and healing the womb space, I, this week, decided to go get a V-steam or yoni steam. There's many different names for it. But I know we can do this at home. You can order the herbs online and kind of create the ritual for yourself at home. But I'm one of those people that sometimes it's nice just to set an appointment and go make the time for yourself, and you have that sacred space, and it's like a container where you can just have zero distractions and just have a unique experience. And so I looked up, I'm here in Austin, Texas, so I looked up yoni steams near me and there's this beautiful little boutique called In Her Love, and it's a yoni steaming facility. And it's this small little space. It's super cute. And they're actually expanding right now, but she had an amazing entry rate, so I bought a package of 3, and I did my first 2 this week. Actually, I did one on Monday and one on Thursday, so yesterday, and it was amazing. It's hard to describe how good it felt just to give myself that time, but also we're so used to we're okay with creating appointments for getting our hair done or getting our nails done, and doing kind of more of these external things that make us feel good. But how often do we pay to give ourselves time for our womb space, for our lady landscape, all that good stuff? So it was an amazing experience, and she gives you this beautiful gown, and it's like a heart-shaped space, and what you do is you sit, it's like a throne essentially, and it's got a heart space cut out with a pot of boiling water with these herbs in it, and the steam that comes up absorbs into your womb space and helps to clear out stored energy. It helps to clear out any infections potentially, or if you have blood stasis or stagnation, and extra gunk from periods where if you get a lot of clots, things like that, it helps to loosen all of those blockages. and even helps with anxiety. It helps reduce level of cramping during periods, and just like general mood stuff as well. It's very like balancing from the inside out. And like from an external standpoint, it's a little bit like a facial for the external aspect of your lady landscape, so it just feels really nice too. And I'm a was really, I'm sorry, I had a, sometimes things happen. My phone freaked out for a second.
That is okay. You were just
Sometimes
fine.
things happen. We're live.
You know, it's all good. And that's why I love doing these shows live and not doing polished things, because it's just life. You know, there's no dress rehearsals in life. You just go. It is what it is. And these things happen. You know,
Yep.
I loved how you were describing what was, you know, what you experienced and how it is like a facial for your yoni. You know, your yoni is your vagina. It's a really amazing, beautiful, integral piece of who you are. And it makes so much sense. And so many other cultures honor this practice. It's very ancient and very wise. And it, unfortunately, it's taboo here. But it's so nice that you were able to just Google, like, yoni steam near me, and you found one. That's magic.
Yeah, and so I did my first one by myself with the owner, and she and I merged energies and just talked about all kinds of womb space healing things. So I can't wait to connect with her more, and maybe even have her on our show as a guest. Her name is Ciara. She's beautiful. And then also today, so it's just a bunch of it's very modest, you know, everything's fully covered and feels sacred. But there's like 6 different chairs in there. And so you have the opportunity to steam by yourself, or if you are okay with it, you can steam with whoever else has an appointment at that time. And so I was like, sure, I'll steam with someone I don't know, whatever. We'll see what happens. And so yesterday I met a beautiful lady, and we just had a conversation about, you know, what it means to give yourself self-love and how to, you know, we kind of broke down meditating a little bit, because oftentimes meditation is like, oh, you have to be a guru before you can like just sit down and give yourself a few deep breaths. Like there's so many things that are meditative in nature without having to be like my mind is fully clear and I'm sitting there like you know, as if like nothing else is happening in my world. And so I think there's something really magical about steaming in community with women, which is, it sounds kind of strange, but it's like all of a sudden you're there, and once you feel the steam, like after a minute, it's just like ego fully drops away. And I'm that type of person that I want to have deep conversations with everyone anyways, but it just seems like there's this element of just like everything drops away. You can just get to the root, to the heart of what's really going on and talk about stuff. So it was really nice. She shared her birth story, about her and her kids, and it was just amazing to be able to hear other women talk about their life and what's going on with them. And it was much like a women's healing circle where we just gather and we talk about, you know, what's going on and what we are working through and what's rising within us. So I highly recommend everyone to try it if you haven't. And if you feel comfortable doing it at home, do it at home. And if you'd rather go have like a little bit more of an experience, you can go and do that at a place near you as well.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Heidi. I have not experienced this yet, but I know a lot of women who have, and I really want to. I know it's going to be just incredibly healing and beautiful. We had a guest on the Alchemy Sisters recently who we're hoping to invite to Womb Magic soon, Tessa Cadet out of Chattanooga, and she leads women's circles and yoni steams and makes the reusable pads I was talking about before, the cloth pads. And she was saying that, you know, it's really important for women to do this, but it's also important for them to know what herbs they're using, because some can be a little too harsh in the steam, and like she had to learn by trial and error with herself. And now she makes like really nice packages so you can buy a steam and do it at home yourself. Heidi, do you know what kind of herbs that they used or any of the stuff that went into your
Yes.
steam?
So she asks you like all these different questions. There's like a consultation essentially prior to. So that's really important that you kind of know, is your cycle typically shorter or longer? Are you menopausal? Are you currently experiencing hot flashes? Do you currently have an infection? Things like that. So the consistency of your like mucus and things like that, all of that determines what kind of blend they would use. This is just like based off my experience. So she had 4 different blends. One was more gentle, one was more cleansing, one was for like fighting infection, and then one was for premenopausal and menopausal women. And there was, she went over all the different herbs that were in mine. There were like 10 different ones. I did the cleansing one. And I remember it had lavender, sage. I want to say it had yarrow, chamomile, perhaps. It had so many things, dandelion. But she gave me the full rundown of like what everything does, and then also gave me a card while I was sitting there of like a full description of like what we were doing. So, super important to know what's going on and also what is going in your steam, so that way you can have the best experience possible.
Oh, I love it. That's just fantastic. I can't wait to experience this myself. I'll have to Google yoni steams near me. And if you do Google that, listeners, if you Google that and you don't find it, I definitely recommend checking out Where the Wild Garden Grows. That's our new friend Tessa, and it's www.thewwgg.com for Where the Wild Garden Grows. And she's got all kinds of things that I definitely know for sure are safe, and we've had several people report back that they've had good experiences with it. So if you're wanting to jump into this practice but there isn't somewhere near you, know that you have that resource.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It was bothering me that I didn't get my rite of womb passage correct, so I need to say it again. The womb is not a place to store fear or pain. The womb is a place to create and give birth to life, is how it goes, because we get a lot of our creations in that region, and we often as women feel, creative ideas coming up within us. And not only do we give birth to actual human life via our womb, but every single thing that comes from us intuitively and creatively is actually initiated in our womb space. So I simply love that phrase and that prayer and that chant that helps to release anything no longer serving you that's kind of stuck up in your womb space.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and one more thing about there's so many more things about yoni steams, but one more thing that I found interesting is something that can happen after. It doesn't have to, and it might not with you because we're all so unique. But one thing that can happen is after you steam, your uterus, your womb space can contract to kind of draw down all of the things that need to be cleansed out of your yoni. So I actually found that I had a little bit of bloating and contraction of my uterus shortly after my session, and I also did it in the evening because it helps you like sleep really well as well. And I've been having a little trouble getting like solid sleep, and it was amazing because it just kind of puts you into this like otherworldly space. And makes your evening really, magical and whimsical. So I just thought that was cool that it like you have these like physiological responses to what's actually happening energetically. So yeah, super cool.
That makes total sense to me. I think that
Yeah.
our wombs are incredibly intuitive and wisdomatic. And I think I shared this on one of our episodes, but I had to get a colposcopy one time, and it wasn't fun. It was like pretty sterile. The women who were there tried to make it more, comfortable, but it was very routine. It didn't feel good. And it triggered a lot. They had to go in there to take like a couple little like samples of, what was going on within my womb. And for like 3 days after that, I think I like felt like I like had gotten raped. Like my womb would not stop contracting. I felt all of this really sharp stabbing pain. I was crying. Like I have no idea what they touched or triggered when they were in there getting the samples they needed. It didn't feel like, it should validate that reaction at the time, but it was fascinating to just sit with it and say, okay, you know what? This just poked the bear a little so that things can just simply be released. So it sounds like the Yoni steam initiated some of that for you to experience as well, Heidi. And if, that happens with you ladies, whether you go to a gynecology appointment or, you do a Yoni steam or something comes up and you need a procedure or whatever, if you're feeling really intense after, or lots of sadness and you're shedding and crying and feeling a little pain, try not to judge it and just try to say thank you for releasing, because it could be things that have been stored in lifetimes. Many of us, especially us old witchy old healer ladies, have been through a lot of trauma in past lives and this lifetime. So it's important just to honor your body and not judge it and say thank you for releasing if that does come up for you.
I love that. That a couple things came up for me as you were talking, Mandee, which was I think I've said this before, but it can do a repeat. Our cervix is a reflexology point for our heart space. And so any type of activity that goes on at the cervix level is communing with our heart space, whether it be a positive or a negative experience. And so I think so many of those kind of procedures that we have that in a lot of ways are good because it helps us to be able to know like what's fully going on, and if there is a medical something, like it's obviously imperative to know. But it is nice to just have that understanding that like some of this can be potentially very disturbing to our hearts, to our inner being, especially if we're more sensitive, intuitive creatures in nature. And for me, like when I had my IUD removed, I had done a lot of healing work around its release and around its removal, just allowing it to energetically release before I went in and had the procedure. And yeah, once it was released, it was like instant relief. It was as if like the dam of like fear that I had released broke. And I just like sobbed for 30 minutes. Like I got out of there as fast as possible, and I got to my car and I just sobbed because there was an attachment to fear based in a relationship that I had been in that wasn't healthy. And the IUD had kind of taken on some of that fear. And so upon releasing that, it was just like the waters were just like coming and coming and coming. And I like started my period like the next day, and there was so much stuff that released from my womb space. And it's just layers, like layers and layers and layers of this lifetime and previous lifetimes of just like, trauma and that sense of fear or not feeling good enough. We don't know the full depth of what can lie in that space. So just being really non-judgmental of your process and of what is either rising there or releasing, and just allowing yourself to accept what is.
I think that's beautiful. I think acceptance is one of the hardest things for any human, especially women, to really come to terms with, because we're so used to, trying to do our best all the time and, making things, even if we're doing it out of a heartfelt place, we tend to kind of try to manipulate things so that things are softer and easier for people and stuff. And sometimes you just have to sit there and just, allow things to move through you. It's kind of interesting because we have this on Tuesday. We have this new moon and big solar eclipse coming up, and there's going to be a lot of transformation, a lot of people going within, trying to decide what's in alignment with them, what's not. If they felt stagnant recently, this is going to start kind of propelling people forward. And sometimes it's about making decisions what's best for you and not what's going to make everyone and everyone else happy. There's a big art with this eclipse, I think, practicing the art of, boundaries and not saying yes when you really mean no, and allowing yourself to take opportunities that are actually meant for you. It looks like this is going to be a really big, interesting eclipse season, and that this one's going to be really internal in a lot of ways. And so while we're talking about our deep womb space and intuition, I think it's really nice to say and, set an intention maybe. We want to set intentions when the moon is new. Full moon is when you want to acknowledge all the things that you're releasing and are no longer serving you. And the new moon is when you want to invite in new intentions and the opportunities that you want to bring in your way. So I really encourage all of our listeners to spend a little time on Tuesday with the new moon and the solar eclipse and allow it to charge you and your crystals and your intentions and get really clear on what it is you want, because you have the opportunity to really use the forces of the universe to help propel you forward in the direction in which you want. And sometimes change can be a little hard. Sometimes it can be a little painful, but it's often very rewarding. So I just encourage everyone to step out of their comfort zone just a little and into their intuition.
Beautiful. What a lovely reminder. Thank you for reminding me about that. I knew it was coming, and I remember it's like a big deal, and I totally forgot about it. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, in full disclosure, it snuck right up on me, and I texted my astrologist, Jen Edwards. If you ever want a birth chart reading or an astrology reading, I highly recommend her. She's at Thank Goddess in Portland, Maine. But she does online for the birth chart readings and things and astrology readings. So you meet with her online, usually in a Zoom room, and it records it, and then you can play it back to yourself. And so I was like, oh, we've got this new moon coming up. I know there's an eclipse coming sometime. I'm going to reach out to her and get a little session to find out what I need to know, because each and every one of us are different in the way, our energies line up and play with these certain eclipses and new moons and things. It's a little different for everyone. So Jen's able to give me a very specific kind of detailed outline as to what my higher self is calling for and what the stars are aligned for me to take action with. So anyway, yeah, I was like, happy new moon, lady. Let's can we do an appointment soon or whatever? She's like, happy new moon, more like happy new moon solar eclipse. And I was like, oh yeah. So I totally forgot too. And that was in the beginning of this week, and I was like, wow, that snuck up fast, because I knew there was one in July, but I thought it was towards the end of the month. So just be yourselves and talk to people, and you just never know what things are going to come your way. And had I not reached out, this would have probably snuck up on me even closer, and I wouldn't have had time to really get clear on what I want. I even started making a vision board in the beginning of the week that I'm slowly adding to. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to finish that up by Tuesday so that I have some nice intentions that are very clear that I can look at and manifest on each and every morning and every night.
Beautiful. I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, Heidi, is there anything else on your heart or mind that you wanted to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
I think that a good practice to do, just something to leave y'all with that I've been doing lately, is whether you're in front of a mirror or you just want to close your eyes and sit with your energy with your left hand on your heart, right hand down your womb space, and just allow yourself to visualize yourself. And say out loud 7 times, I accept and love who I am, and I fully accept myself. And just see how you feel and see what you feel resistant to, see what you feel that is easy about those phrases, and report back to us. Let us know. And excited to hear about everyone's new moon, solar eclipse experiences too.
Beautiful. You're here with Mandee and Heidi Summers, and I'm Mandee Elam. She's Heidi Summers. And you're here listening to Womb Magic. Please follow us on Facebook, Womb Magic Movement. Feel free to reach out to us or follow either one of us individually on Facebook. We're with Heart Over Ego Radio. There's lots of different shows here throughout the week. We're slowly building. We have a new show, Spiritual Awakenings, on Sundays, another one, Rain Radio. I believe that's on Wednesdays. So I'd have to confirm that. We're here with Womb Magic on Friday mornings, and on Monday nights we have the Alchemy Sisters. And we're always honored to hold space with each and every one of you. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, we'd love it because we're always interacting and playing around there. Thank you so much, Heidi. This is a beautiful episode, and I appreciate the space you hold always.
Thank you, Mandee. I appreciate you too.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.